Hello and welcome. I'm Suhas, and this is my project work presentation for the third and final course of AI Product Management Specialization, the human factors in AI. Let's look at the agenda. So, we'll be covering four topics. Firstly, we'll start with the task analysis, then, we'll look into the user experience design. Thirdly, we'll check the privacy considerations, and we'll wrap up with ethical considerations. Let's see what are the task analysis that we have done here. So the problem that I've chosen is to develop a machine learning model that can understand and interpret dogs' language using vocalization, body language, facial expressions, and contextual situation. The goal here is to recognize and interpret dogs' communication cues and translate them into meaningful insights for the dog owners or handlers. This will help them to better understand their pet's needs, emotions, and take care of the overall well being. So, let's see the key tasks here. So, firstly, we will be capturing the dog signals and cues using the edge devices, and that will be processed. So the data processing involves recognition of the objects and images and audio clippings, then interpret them in a human system understandable way. Then we'll be classifying this uh, data and interpreting the details. It will then be translated into a human understandable language. Then humans can read and understand the interpretation of those doc cues. And then system will also provide suggested responses, or the humans can also do whatever is necessary for their dogs. They can also provide feedback to our ML system, which can be used for further learning by the system, and also humans can learn a lot about their dogs. So these are the key tasks, and this involves, to accomplish this, we also have to do some data collection, feature extraction, building an ML model to interpret the dog signals. So let's look at the basic tasks involved here. First and foremost thing is to acquire a diverse set of dog vocalizations, body postures, facial expressions, and contextual information, possibly through our audio and video recordings in various different environments. Then we can clean and pre-process the collected data to remove the noise and standardize the formats. This can be used to extract relevant features for analysis. Thirdly, we'll also have to identify the essential features from the data that represent various communication cues, such as barks, the pitch and tone of it, for example, the tail wagging, the ear positions, head tilt, and more. Then we'll have to start with the model training. So we'll start with the development of a ML model, potentially using the techniques like the deep learning, pattern recognition algorithms, so that we can enable the system to learn and associate different features with the corresponding dog's behaviors and emotions. Then we'll assess the model's accuracy and performance on the test data to ensure it is accurately interpreting for a wide range of dog signals. Lastly, users will be provided with an interface. So we'll have to design an intuitive user interface for the app, enabling the dog owners to input data interpret, interact with the ML model, and also receive meaningful insights and interpretations about their dog's communication. So these are the basic tasks identified. So next, let's have an insight into the task flow and our UX improvements. To simplify the task flow, we will have to automate the data collection from our edge devices like the mobile or the home cameras. So this will also enable to continuously monitor the dog's behavior and reduce the manual efforts of feeding the data by the user. So advanced feature engineering is also required to automatically extract relevant features from data and minimize the user input, thus simplifying the data preparation process. So looking at the uh, UX improvements, so we have a real-time feedback um, during the data input to allow the users to see how their dogs communication is being analyzed and also interpreted. So this gives a sort of transparency into the system as well. And next we have visualizations and graphic representations which are required to represent the ML model's output. This will make easier for the users to understand their dog's emotions and needs. And we'll also implement a personalized experience where the apps can easily learn from their users' interactions and provide a customized insights based on their specific dog's behaviors and preferences. Next, let's look at the user experience design. This will be in two parts. We'll see the user interaction, then the key considerations for user feedback, transparency, and uncertainty. Let's start with the prime question. How will the users interact? Users have option to input their dog's basic data and can capture and send recordings or observations. And next we have the apps which show the analysis and interpretation of the dog's communication cues. With this feedback, users can understand how our ML model interprets their dog signals. The app will also provide the visualizations. So the app can send animated visual cues to depict the dog's emotions and behaviors, which could be simply like a smiley or emotion emojis kind of animation to start with. Next, we have the ML app, uh, which can also, I mean, we also want the ML app to be interpretable and also recommend things. But before that, we also want to have some personalization of the learnings that we have got. So the ML app will learn from the user's interactions and their specific dog's behavior. The ML model will adapt to the unique patterns and behaviors of the user's dog to provide more accurate and tailored insights. Then the ML model will analyze and interpret the dog's language, providing insights into its emotions, moods, and potential needs. It can also offer recommendations on how humans can respond to enhance their relationship between the humans and the dogs. This will also enable them to strengthen their bonding. So user interactions interacts with the ML model by providing feedback on the accuracy of the interpretation. This will help the ML model to learn and further improve its performance over time. Our app will also keep track of past interpretations and interactions with the users. This will allow to track their dog's communication patterns, and this historical data can provide valuable insights into long-term changes in the dog's behaviors and emotions. So these are the 7 potential ways how the users can interact with our application. Next, let's look at the key considerations of AI product in terms of user experience design. Firstly, we have the user inputs and feedback. So simply data input with the options for audio and video and contextual details are there. So this will be simplified further, and also offer real-time feedback on the data quality and engagement. We'll also establish a feedback loop for the users to confirm the AI's interpretation and provide inputs on the accuracy. Next, it is essential for our model to be transparent for the users. So our application will clearly explain the AI's role in interpreting the dog's language. It will provide valuable insights into how the ML model works and how it identifies various cues like the vocalizations, body language, postures, facial expressions, and so on. And lastly, we have the communicating we'll also have to communicate the uncertainties. So our model will express the confidence score for interpretations. It will communicate the potential limitations, especially when dealing with complex emotional cues, and encourage users to supplement AI insights with their knowledge of their dog's individual behavior patterns. So, jumping on to the third topic of this presentation, the privacy considerations. Here we will be looking at the privacy related concerns and also some of the privacy laws which are applicable for our case. So there are three primary concerns rising on the privacy part aspect. We have the biometric data privacy, the user data consent, and the AI model and contextual analysis. Biometric data privacy. As our app involves a lot of audio and video recordings of the dogs, there is also concern about inadvertently capturing our biometric data of the dog owners or the individuals present in the background of the recording. So it is the biometric data could be the facial features, the voice, pitch and tone of the individuals, which could be used to, for example, unlock their phones or to perform any biometric passes. So it is essential to take strict measures to ensure and secure this data and also anonymize them to prevent the unauthorized access or potential misuse of it. So we'll also have to take a consent from the users for collecting the data and analyzing it. Users must be informed about the purpose of the data usage, how long it will be retained in our system, and whether it will be shared to the third parties. So transparent consent process build trust between the user and our company, and this will also comply with the privacy regulations. Third, we have the AI model and the contextual analysis. The app's AI model may analyze contextual situations in dog's environment. However, this raises concern about the unintentionally capturing private information about the user's home layout, the location, or members in the house. This could invade their privacy as well. So implementing the context specific data handling and ensuring that the AI model focuses solely on the dog's communication cues can mitigate this sort of concerns. So now let's look at the some of the applicable privacy laws, and we'll also then see what are the obligations they bring in. So primarily we have four privacy laws that might be applicable for this case. So GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation by the European Union, CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, and Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which might be required when uh, tracking the dogs' health conditions, monitoring them, and also featuring. And lastly, the fair information practice, which is globally applicable and has to be implemented in almost every place. Right? So GDPR brings the obligation of obtaining the user contents for the data processing, provide transparent privacy policies, and also implement strong data security measures. We will have to comply with the data subject rights such as access and deletion requests. California Consumer Privacy Act is applicable for the US users. When we are serving the California specific users, we'll have to respect their rights to know what data is collected and their right to opt out of the data sharing. So the HIPAA is what we already discussed. It might be required when processing health related data, and we'll also have to adhere to the standard safeguarding health informations and ensuring the confidentiality and security. So this also applies for the uh, health data which is being collected from the dog's communication cues, like whether it is in pain, what sort of medical treatment it has recently undergone, which might be fed from the user as an input, so on. So fair information practices, with this, we have the obligation to embrace principles of fair and responsible data handling, including something like obtaining a consent, specifying data usages, and protecting the data from unauthorized access. This is a standard practice which is applied everywhere. So how we can ensure this compliance? There are several ways to do this. We can obtain the user consent. We can provide clear privacy policies and explain how data is being used or stored or protected. So data has to be secured. So we'll also have to implement robust data security measures to protect them from unauthorized access. And the best thing is to do is to collect the minimal data. So whatever is necessary, we will be collecting only that just to interpret the doc's language. And we have to respect the user's rights to access and rectify or delete their personal data whenever requested. And we will keep the users informed about sharing the data to any third parties, or if they have to opt out of it, there will be a provision provided for that as well. So coming to the final topic, which is the ethical considerations. So this brings, let's look at some of the potential sources of biases in our ML model. First, we have the breed specific bias. The ML model may be trained on data that disproportionately represents certain dog breeds. As a result, the system could show better performance in interpreting the behavior of certain breeds while lacking accuracy in other breeds. This could lead to what we call the breed specific bias. The ML model might be sensitive to the context in which dogs are recorded and observed. Factors like the location, setting, or the interactions with specific individuals may influence the model's interpretation, thus introducing the contextual bias. If the training data is not well balanced in terms of gender or age representation, the ML model could develop biases in interpreting the language of male or female dogs or younger or older dogs differently. So the human behavior bias. So human trainers or annotators might introduce unintentional biases when labeling or describing the dog's behaviors. These biases can then be learned and reinforced by our ML model, leading to a biased interpretations in further observations. Lastly, we might have a data collection methods or sources which are not representative of a diverse population of dogs, which could lead to underrepresentation or maybe overrepresentation of certain dog behaviors and thus creating the data collection bias. So these are the five potential sources of bias that I see in the app that I'm trying to build. Next, let's look at what are the three goals of ethical AI and how we can ensure to meet them. First is the fairness. So to ensure fairness in the app of interpreting dogs language, we will take several measures, right? Especially during the development process. First, we will use a very diverse and representative data set that includes various dog breeds, ages, and context to avoid biases towards specific group. We will implement fairness-aware algorithms and techniques to minimize the potential biases in the ML model's interpretation, and continuous monitoring and evaluation of the model's performance on different groups of dogs will be conducted to detect and address any emerging biases. User feedback and reported incidents of the biased interpretations will be taken seriously and adjustments will be made to improve the fairness. Next, we have the accountability. So the apps will be prioritized accountability by providing clear explanation of its AI-based interpretation. We will ensure that the users understand the limitations and potential uncertainties of the system's output. Transparency is a key. So transparent documentations will be provided on how the ML model provides input data to generate the interpretations. In case of any errors or misclassifications, a feedback loop will be established for the users to provide input and correct inaccuracies. Regular audits and reviews of the app's performance and adherence to privacy and ethical standards will be conducted to maintain accountability. Transparency. App will be designed with transparency as the fundamental principle. Users will be informed about the data collection process, the type of the data used, and how it contributes to the ML model's training. We will provide clear explanation of the features and cues the AI model considers when interpreting the dog's behavior. Users will have access to their data and can understand how it is used to enhance the app's performance. Additionally, we will also make the app's privacy policies and terms of service easily available for the users. This will ensure complete transparency about the data handling and the sharing practices. So those are the three goals and how we can achieve them or meet them in our application. So now let's summarize, right, what we have seen so far. Firstly, we started with the task analysis, which covered the key task analysis, basic tasks involved, and we also looked at some of the, uh, we also digged into the insights of the task flow and how user experience can be improved. Next, we touched upon the user experience design. We answered the primary question of how the users will be interacting with our application. What are the key considerations of AI product user experience designs? Then we looked at the privacy considerations, which cover the privacy related concerns, which could be stemming from the data collected or used. And we saw the four applicable privacy laws and the obligations they bring onto us while developing the application. We also went through some of the measures we would take to comply with these privacy policies. And lastly, we covered the topic of ethical considerations, where we saw five main potential sources of biases. And we also covered the three goals of ethical AI and how to meet them. That brings to end of my presentation. Thank you for being with me. Happy learning and goodbye.